Hi, this is Zia, the Mystic Visionary, and I'm here to pick a word for the week for the podcast. But before I do that, I have a couple of things I want to say. For the last few weeks, I have been doing a challenge to try to elevate, well, I guess not elevate, but to bring more energy to higher frequencies in my own life, trying to look at what makes me feel alive, awake, joyful, passionate, all the things that I talk about when in my heart quiz about, how to open up to the call of your heart. And I realized that doing this podcast is part of that call in my heart. But the reason I'm doing this podcast is to hold space for this idea that I have. And I'm not alone in this idea. There's a lot of people that have this idea of holding space for this new paradigm that's emerging. There's like an idea of this possibility that good is going to prevail in all ways, and it always does. And I've been listening a lot to Abraham, the Esther Hicks channels, that consciousness of Abraham. And I realized that how important it is to focus on what I'm doing, what, or we all should be doing, is focusing on what is important, what we want, and not giving attention to what we don't want. And I've spent a lot of my life fighting in my own way injustices of the world, thinking that things needed to be righted. And somehow I was responsible for righting them or doing my job, my small part in righting the wrongs of the world. And it became clear to me this week particularly that it starts with us, each one of us, and I can't control anybody but myself. And so for me, I have to make my life right first. It's like that idea that focusing externally is going to change things in the external world, when in reality, everything that's in our world is a reflection of what we're thinking. And I have to start with myself. I have to go inward. And it's like, what are the thoughts I want to be thinking? What is it I want to be attracting to me? And I've learned that when I can think a thought that brings me a sense of joy, or I can think a thought that makes me excited or feeling passionate, or it ignites my creativity, that is me changing the world. Because the only person I absolutely have control over is me. And if I elevate myself, and if I start looking at what makes my heart sing and what my soul wants, then that is helping the world. So I am really going to be focused, again, bringing my attention back to what I want to hold as my truth, what I have been given, this information about the new paradigm. It's like I'm doing this for me and sharing it with you. And if you're listening, that's great. If you're not listening, that's okay too, because I'm doing this as a way to hold myself accountable to being focused on what I want and what I see for my world that I want to live in. And making it more about understanding what brings me joy. And somehow I have this throat chakra issue that wants to speak. And this is part of why I'm doing this podcast. It's like my throat chakra wants to express. And what a better thing to express than trying to hold space for the good to emerge and continue to emerge. It's emerging all the time. It's out there. So I just wanted to make that clear. So I'm going to stay focused more on what these words mean in the new paradigm and not contrast them to the old, because we all know that. Let's just look at what we want to hold space for. Or that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at what I want to hold space for. Okay, so let's get going. I'm going to pick a word for the week, and I'm opening my little box and taking out my beautiful crystal, and I'm going to Let me shuffle all these up. My eyes are closed. I'm shuffling them, and of course I'm going to pick the exact right word. Let's see, I think it's this one right here. Okay, and the word is miracles. Wow, that's a great word. Miracles. All right, I'm going to go meditate on miracles, and I'll be back to talk about what that means in the new paradigm. Well, I'm back from meditation, and it was a nice, peaceful meditation about miracles. And the thing that I came to, that I was aware of, is everyday miracles. I think we think of miracles as these, huge things, like, somebody was healed of cancer. It was a miracle. But the thing that I got in my meditation was everyday miracles. It's like things that happen frequently that we just overlook, but it really is a miraculous thing. I was thinking about, when I was meditating, I had a memory from a couple of days ago, and I was walking the dog in a park by our house, and I turned this path. I went down a path. There was, a couple of directions to go, but I decided to go this one way towards the river. And I turned the corner on this path, and the sun was coming through the trees, and it was landing. The rays of the sun were on this bush, and the bush was flowering, and all the flowers were opened up towards the sun. And there was like 6 squirrels playing on the grass, running between the trees, and they were just playing, and the sun was shining, and the flowers were blooming. And it was a moment of just complete beauty and tranquility and serenity and just being one with nature. And I stood there and just soaked that in and allowed myself to experience that feeling. And to me, that's an everyday miracle. And another example of that is I'm selling some stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and one of the things has been sold, and the person was coming to pick it up, and they didn't show up when they said they were going to show up. So I thought, well, I'm just going to move it to the driveway and text them and say, hey, it's in the driveway, pick it up. They'd already paid for it. So as I was trying to move it, it was kind of heavy, so I was tipping it over and kind of rolling it out towards the driveway. And in the bushes, I saw something pink, and I was like, what's that? So it looked like a traffic ticket is what it looked like, and I picked it up, and it was from the post office, and it had been stuck to my back door, I believe, and I think the wind must have blown it off, and it went into the bushes, and I hadn't seen it because I hadn't been on that side of the house. And because I moved this table and was trying to get it out to the street, I was able to see that notice, and I was able to go get this package. And it was a package that they tried to deliver, but I wasn't home, so they put a notice. And it had been 5 days ago. But it was like moving that table and doing that, because the guy didn't show up on time, allowed me to see that, and I was able to go get this package, something I've been waiting to have. So it's like, that's an everyday miracle. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be life altering. And I think what it requires of us is attention. Just paying attention to things as they happen. And I think the more we see these everyday miracles, the more we're aware of them, the more of them we'll see. It's that idea of, where attention goes, energy flows. And there are plenty of things that are happening around us that are everyday miracles that we just overlook. And something as simple as finding a slip of paper from the post office about a package, that doesn't seem like it's a miracle. But if I hadn't have moved that table and that person had been on time, I probably never would have seen it. So is that a miracle? Yeah, I think it is. It's an everyday miracle. And it's like, why are we not paying attention and honoring those simpler things? That's the key, I believe, to this, the new paradigm for me. It's like letting go of the distractions and putting our attention on the things we want to put our attention onto, and being aware of those everyday miracles as they come up and seeing more of them and putting our attention in a way that allows us to celebrate the synchronicities and the serendipities and the coincidences that really are little miracles, everyday miracles. Yeah, it's a good word, miracles. And I think we need to make it more accessible to people. And that is something we can individually do. Like, how many miracles happened to you this week? And start adding them up or paying attention to them. You know, it's a simple thing, like, you know, I don't know, like my daughter talks about, she has a parking fairy that helps her find parking spaces. Well, she believes in the parking fairy. So what happens? Every time she goes somewhere, she finds a parking spot where she wants to park. So is that because she has a parking fairy, or is that because she's putting attention on the fact that that is her experience? And I could be either, but putting attention on something you believe creates a reality. And if you believe in miracles and you believe in everyday miracles, then more of them will show up. And I'm going to spend more time paying attention to that. I already kind of do, because I believe even nature is a miracle. You know, I take pictures of flowers and of bugs and fireflies and butterflies and rock formations or leaves that are shaped like hearts. And, you know, I think nature is a miracle in its own self. And when I give attention to that, when I intentionally recognize that I feel that it was something that was a miraculous thing, the more of them I'll see. It's just the law of attraction in action. And everyday miracles. Yeah, that's what I got from this. And sure, there's great, you know, the big, huge miracle things. I love that when that happens. But I also am more happy with the everyday miracles. It's part of our life. You know, we just need to open our eyes and our heart to that. Start looking for it and calling it that, instead of like, well, that was a fluke. Well, no, that was a little mini miracle, you know, or, you know, calling it a miracle. Call it a miracle. Don't be afraid to. You know, that's what I felt like with that, finding that pink slip. And, you know, the interesting part about that was I had ordered coffee pods for my Nespresso machine, and they sent them to the wrong address. So I called the post office, and they said they would ship them to me. And I was like, great. So they didn't come. And I thought, well, I guess they didn't send those pods. I'll have to order some more. So I was just thinking I'll order some more of those pods that morning because I didn't have any and I wanted coffee. And that's when I found the pink slip, and the pink slip was for the pods that they'd shipped to me. So now, this morning, I got to have my nice Nespresso coffee. That is an everyday miracle, I'm happy to report. So go out there in your life and pay attention to those everyday miracles and give them some significance and call them that. It's like, how many everyday miracles did you experience today? And honor them. And the more you honor them, the more you pay attention, the more of them you'll have in your life. So I hope that your world is filled with little everyday miracles. All right, great word. Thank you for whoever chose that word. All right, have a great week. I'll be back next week with a new word. If you want to learn more about the 5 guiding principles of the new paradigm, you can listen to my audiobook, which is The Pocket Guide to the New Paradigm, which is a free audiobook on YouTube. I'll link it below. And the other thing that I have available is the Heart Archetype quiz. It's a short quiz that answers the question, am I listening to the call of my heart? And you take the quiz and you'll discover what might be blocking you from living the call of your heart. And I think that's what we're all being called to do right now, is to look inside, connect with our heart, and follow its guidance.